Liu sat stiffly in the seminar room on the third floor of Rosenwood Hall. Her laptop open like a shield, her pen unmoving. Around her, the air buzzed with argument. It was her third week in the Master of Arts program in the social sciences at the University of Chicago. On paper, she belonged here. She had aced her TOEFL and GRE, written lucid papers on Weber and Wallenstein, and was deeply versed in the sociology of state and power. But now, in this seminar on Foucault and governmentality, she was barely holding on. An Iranian political theorist was riffing fluently about biopower and technologies of the South. A Brazilian anthropologist, in a warm, real accent, followed up with a comparison to liberation theology. Then the professor turned to Liu. What is your take on the pastoral power in Chinese bureaucracy? Liu heard the question, but not all of it. Pastoral power? Was that literal or metaphorical? She wasn't sure. The speaker's Midwestern lilt blurred at the end of his sentence. Someone across the room coughed. Her inner translator froze. She hesitated. I think it is difficult to define clearly, but also very important. Silence. A polite nod. The room shifted onward, leaving her behind. What faltered here wasn't merely comprehension. It was performance. And Liu knew it. She wasn't being evaluated only on ideas, but on delivery. Tone, speed, confidence, clarity. Her own accent had never felt heavier. Her timing always a second off. Her vocabulary suddenly insufficient. The word pastoral floated above her like a riddle she didn't dare solve out loud. Sociologist Irving Goffman would have understood this moment exactly. When an individual appears before others, he will have many motives for trying to control the impression they receive of him. Liu, like many of us, had trained for the stage, but not for this one. In China, her English had lived in the backstage. Exam rooms, quiet libraries, memorized articles, carefully crafted WeChat messages. But here, in this fast-moving seminar full of accents, references, laughter, and layered assumptions, she found herself on the front stage, and the script no longer held. Her mind raced not just with uncertainty about vocabulary, but with the stakes of the moment. In Chinese culture, the concept of face, 面子, matters. She feared appearing ignorant, slow, or worse, irrelevant. And so her performance thinned, her confidence leaked, her presence diminished. Face is the positive social value a person effectively claims for himself, but the line others assume he has taken during a particular contact. She hadn't lost her language. She had lost her line. I recognized this scene unfolding before me with intimate clarity, for I, too, had once performed my own version of it. If Liu then found herself struggling in Hyde Park at the University of Chicago, I had once honed my skills for precisely such battles in the classrooms of Changsha. My early English journey didn't just begin in the 5th grade classroom. It came alive more vividly at a now defunct foreign language training school called INDA, one of those steamy, chaotic summer cram schools that mushroom across the street of Changsha in the early 2000s. The heat was unbearable. The classrooms felt like pressure cookers, and everything was loud and bustling. Our sacred text, not the overused and overhyped new concept English, but Family Album USA, a vintage sitcom-style American textbook filled with flat characters and painfully awkward dialogue. And yet, to me, it was a treasure trove. We didn't just read it, we lived it. Each day, we were assigned episodes to perform. I would lead my group, not just reciting, but directing. I chopped scenes, rearranged lines, injected jokes, even added plot twists. We rehearsed endlessly. I discovered, almost without knowing it, that English, for me, was not merely a subject. It was theater. A vehicle of self-presentation. I wasn't just learning to speak. I was learning to perform the self I wanted to become. The self is a dramatic effect arising diffusely from a scene that is presented. That was my first education in Goffman, though I wouldn't read his name until years later. English became the medium through which I could shape impressions, direct attentions, and construct identities. It was impression management, summer school edition. I collected awards, Casio electronic dictionaries, 文曲星 translators, countless certificates. But these trophies paled in comparison to what I truly gained, what sociologist Irving Goffman termed dramaturgical competence. In those steamy classrooms, I learned to read the room, command presence, and hold an audience. I discovered that language transcends syntax and semantics. It is fundamentally stagecraft. This performance wisdom became a constant companion, first at Yali Boarding High School and later at Sichuan University, where I continued to refine my craft upon ever-expanding stages. And yet, years later, I, too, would find myself in a foreign country, lost in the real conversation. No script, no rehearsal, just silence and stakes. The same fear Liu felt in Hyde Park had once overtaken me in a university hallway as I tried and failed to make a spontaneous joke in English to a group of American students. They laughed politely. I died a little. We had both rehearsed the wrong scene. Chinese students are not underprepared, they are misprepared. We train our young actors in artificial theaters. The audience is an exam grader. The stage is a worksheet. The performance is rigid and overdetermined. Write an essay titled My View on Success in no fewer than 120 words. Listen to the recording, choose A, B, C, or D. This is not dramaturgy. This is linguistic taxidermy. What is missing is the informal, asynchronous, improvisational element of real social life, the kind Goffman studied obsessively. How people recover from mistakes, how pauses are interpreted, how eye contact, accent, or hesitation can recalibrate the entire meaning of the moment. A status, a position, a social place is not a material thing to be possessed and then displayed. It is a pattern of appropriate conduct. Our students have the vocabulary. They just don't know how to conduct themselves in a scene without cues. So why did Liu freeze? Liu didn't fail because she didn't have a good command of English. She failed because she was unprepared for the theatrical conditions of the seminar. A couple of analyses. Jargon. She never encountered pastoral power in casual speech. Casual tone. The speaker used the laid-back register unfamiliar in formal training. Speed. The discussion moved fast, too fast to translate mentally. Accents. Every participant spoke English differently. Brazilian, Iranian, Midwestern, Eastern European. Last but not the least, face pressure. Her anxiety about looking ignorant intensified her silence. In short, the scene demanded fluency, not in grammar, but in presence, in rhythm, adaptability, and poise. She wasn't being asked to recite knowledge, she was being asked to embody understanding. The individual does not have a status, but rather is engaged in the performance of maintaining it. And that performance, in this scene, cracked. But Goffman, ever a realist, offers not despair, but strategy. He reminds us that all performances are fragile. Even native speakers pause, backtrack, revise. The goal is not to avoid rupture, but to know how to repair it. That is what Liu and I and so many others must learn. Some students begin to adapt. They say, I am not sure I understand that word. Can you explain? They laugh at their own missteps. They risk sounding strange. They stop hiding. They become not reciters but improvisers, and in doing so, they reclaim their place on the stage. The self is not an organic thing that has a specific location. It is a dramatic effect arising diffusely from a scene that is presented. The self is not behind the words. It emerged through interaction. We don't need more English classes in China. We need new rehearsals. We need cafes where students debate memes. We need classrooms where grammar is learned through scenes, not worksheets. We need spaces where students are not only corrected, but heard, where the goal is not correctness, but connection. Because the great irony is this. Our students already have the tools. What they need is a stage that demands and rewards their authentic presence. And perhaps most of all, we need to teach them this. It's okay to forget your line. Just don't leave the scene.